wasn't a good time for some folks. They'll be able to see later. Also, Everywhere, I just want everyone to know that Everywhere is much, much more than a bookstore, but also a cultural event center. And so to fund the cultural event center portion,
I believe that unless you can laugh and hear someone else laughing, that house is not a home. Dad also feared that the house was no longer safe for us. So he sent Robert and me to stay with neighbors, Mr. Clint Lewis and his wife, Gertrude. They had one son and a niece living with them. They lived deep in the woods off the main road. We spent 3 nights with them, Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night. Living with them, however, didn't mean we were free from working. Monday was a normal scheduled work day. Just like clockwork, we came back into the fields picking cotton. All the while I was working in the field, my mind never left Bobo. And I was wondering, was he all right? The hardest part, not knowing what had happened to him. By Monday, Sheriff Smith had arrested Wright and his half brother J.W. Meyer, charged them with kidnapping. But there was no news that day or the next day about Bobo's whereabouts. On Wednesday around noon, the deputy sheriff came out of the cotton fields to talk to my father. Dad didn't say anything to us, but very quietly left the fields. I knew something had happened. I had a feeling then that they had found Bobo. The question in my mind, whether he was alive or was he dead? The deep sorrow I felt told me the answer. Dad asked our neighbor John Crawford to drive him up to Sumner. He came back that evening with the grim news that Bobo had been found floating in the Tallahassee River. It was about 20 miles before we lived near the town of Phillip in Tallahassee County. Something about Tallahassee County that I didn't put in the book. That's the county that my mother and father got married in 1925. Dad had seen and identified the body of Bobo. It was devastating news to my family and me. My soul was hurt and my appetite left me. I don't know how much weight I lost, but my sister Hallie, she said she lost 10 pounds in 10 days. My sister Thelma lost her appetite also for both food and drink. She said she would take one bite and then feel full instantly. We were unable to contain our grief. For the first time in my life, I thought about shooting another person with a gun. I had J.W. Meyer in mind. I didn't know his name yet, but I remember his face. Dad would sit on the front porch swing, quietly contemplating what he would do next. He would sigh and utter only grunts. Mom was no longer there to console him or to help him understand what had happened. Dad had gone to see Mom at Uncle Crosby's house after identifying Bobo's body. They decided that for her own safety and peace of mind, Mom should leave Mississippi for Chicago. Tallahassee County Sheriff H.W. Stryden, official from the county, insisted that Dad bury Bobo's body that day. The undertaker told Dad that the body had to be buried quickly because it was in such bad shape. I never did see Bobo's body, but I did see the picture later. It was the most grotesque, disfigured image of a human being I had ever seen. The image has lived with me to this day. Dad told them about a little church nearby with a cemetery where Bobo could be buried. East Money Church of God in Christ, where one time he had been pastor. The same day Bobo's body was found, I crawled followed the hearse out of the cemetery. Two young men, Buck Jones and J.T. Lewis, dug the grave. They also lived on the same plantation that we did. We were told to get ready for the funeral, so we left the field, got dressed, and piled into the little Ford sedan with Maurice driving. The funeral home had made all the arrangements to get Bobo's remains to the grave site. His body was encased in a wooden box next to the grave. But before the service started, Dr. Crosby told Daddy that he didn't think that Bobo's grandmother, Aunt Alma, would want him buried in Mississippi. In fact, he told Dad that Bobo's body would not be buried, that Bobo's body would be buried in Chicago. Then the sheriff of Lefort County showed up driving a 1955 Ford and stopped the proceeding. Sheriff Smith told the undertaker that Bobo would not be buried in Mississippi and ordered him to take his body back to Greenwood and to prepare it to be shipped to Chicago. The undertaker told Sheriff Smith that he had instructions from Tallahassee County to bury Bobo's body immediately. Sheriff Smith let the undertaker know that he was the sheriff of Lefort County, and that the undertaker was to do what he said. Sheriff Smith got into his car and sped off, spinning his wheel, throwing gravels in our direction. 1955, Emmitt, second time coming to Chicago, really didn't know, coming to Mississippi, he really didn't know how to conduct himself in Mississippi. He didn't have a clue. He had been told, but he still didn't have a clue. He arrived on a Saturday. We went to the little town called Money. It's about 3 miles west of where we live. This was Sunday afternoon. We bought some fireworks. And he immediately began to set them off inside of the little city limit, which was a no-no. We knew better, but he didn't know. And that was one of the reasons later that when we went to the town that Wednesday, my brother Maurice did not want him in that store alone because he didn't have a clue of what was going on. That Monday we went down by the little church. There was a group of boys there. One boy had a pistol in his pocket. I guess he's about 17. Another young man walked up named Fletcher. Incidentally, I met Fletcher the first time in 55 years this past August. We had a school meeting. Fletcher said, if I found out who had this gun, I'm going to take it from him. Everybody got quiet. No one said anything. And then he couldn't understand that. Being from Chicago, when we got home, he let us have it. He said, you don't let anyone come on your turf and destroy this stuff. He calls the chicken. First time I ever heard the term chicken, I didn't know what it meant. He talked about us, but nothing we could do. The next night we decided to go to one of our neighbors, actually a distant cousin. He had probably an acre of watermelon. We kind of borrowed a few. Each one had a watermelon. You know, in the South, if you cut a watermelon, you cut right through the heart. But if you just break it, all you can is your heart. Just dig the heart out. That's what we did. And he liked that. He's excited. But one of the things he did that I thought was a little amusing to me, he asked my dad, because, you know, the cotton picking season had just started. He said, Uncle Moses, can I go out there and pick with you? And I'm looking at him, out of your mind? Of course, Dad said yes. So you can pick, and you can keep all that you make. How long do you think he lasts? 5 minutes. He finished the day. He came home, he said, hey Lizzie, I can't stand the heat. 90, between 90 and 100 degrees. And I was just in Mississippi August the 15th, and it was 101 degrees. You know what they was telling us? To stay inside. It's too hot to go out.